Welcome into Mock Trial Masterclass, your guide to controlling the courtroom. I'm Luke and I want you to be a mock trial master. Let's talk about how you can make that happen. Probably the most important part of a mock trial for a witness is direct examination. It's your time to shine, it's your time to be the star. So it's really important that you do a good job of that. Specifically, I think it's important that as a witness during direct examination, you accomplish 3 specific jobs. And those 3 jobs are what we're going to discuss in this video. If you, as a witness, can follow these principles we're about to talk about, can implement some of these strategies, and can most importantly achieve the 3 jobs you need to achieve as a witness on direct examination, your scores are going to go through the roof. So, you ready to hop in? Let's do it. Job number 1 for a witness on direct examination is to steal the show. Cross-examination is a time for attorneys to take the spotlight and show off their skills, and while an attorney still needs to be present and shine a little bit during direct examination, as a witness, it is your time to shine, which means that you need to steal the show as a witness. Now, we don't want to do anything crazy. We don't want to do a stand-up comedy routine. We don't want to sing on the witness stand or do anything wacky like that, which, by the way, I've seen before, and it was really bad and really uncomfortable. And we don't want to do anything like that, but we do want to stand out as a witness. And there are lots of ways you can stand out as a witness, and I even have another video on my channel all about ways that you can steal the show and stand out as a witness. So I'll link that in the description below, but quickly I'll run through a few of my favorite ways. You can use humor to an extent. Again, no stand-up comedy routine, but a nice little one-liner or humorous moment here or there can go a long way toward helping you stand out as a witness. You can use an accent as a witness. Now, it needs to be really good. It needs to be consistent throughout the entirety of your direct and cross-examination. But if you want to go with an accent, perfectly fine to go with an accent. Can be a really good method. You need to have the appropriate volume to be able to steal the show as a witness. How in the world are you going to be able to steal the show if no one can hear you or understand what you're saying? A problem that unfortunately a lot of witnesses have. So if you can just speak up at a reasonable volume, and if you have access to a microphone, lean into the microphone and use the amplification system, you're already going to put yourself ahead of a ton of the competition. So those are just a few ways that you can stand out and steal the show as a witness on direct examination. Again, I'll put a full link in the description for a deeper dive on all of those topics. But for now, just know that as a witness, it is job number 1 for you on direct examination to steal the show. Job number 2 for you as a witness during direct examination is to be authentic. Let's think for a minute about what that word authentic means. If I tell you I'm looking at an authentic Picasso painting, what are you going to take that to mean? Well, you're going to take it to mean that I'm looking at a real painting that Picasso painted and made during his lifetime. Not a replica, not a photocopy, the real thing. If I tell you that I have an authentic game-used Babe Ruth baseball bat, you're going to take that to mean it is a real bat that Babe Ruth used in a baseball game. Right? That word authentic we know to simply mean real. It's the real thing. And so when I say that as a witness, you have to be authentic during direct examination, it means that you need to be the real thing. Here's what I mean by that. If you're playing a doctor as an expert witness, you need to appear like a doctor. If you're playing an auto mechanic as an expert witness, or as any other type of witness who maybe isn't an expert, you need to appear like an auto mechanic. The same goes for any other type of witness you're playing. Auto mechanic, doctor, drug dealer, office worker, right? Any type of character you're playing as a witness, you need to look like that character. And that covers a few things. It covers the way you speak. For example, if you're playing a character that, I don't know, didn't make it past the 8th grade, you're probably not going to be using really big scientific words like esophagogastroduodenoscopy, which is a medical procedure, right? You're not going to be doing things like that if you're playing that type of character. On the other hand, if you're a doctor, you probably have a little bit more license to use big words so long as you quickly explain them and define them for the jury. So being authentic covers what you say. It also covers how you dress. And you really have to think about this one, because being authentic doesn't mean that you run to your local Halloween costume store and buy a costume for the part that you're playing. Sometimes costumes are a great idea, don't get me wrong, but let's think about this. If a doctor is testifying in, say, a medical malpractice lawsuit as an expert, do we think that they're going to show up to court wearing a lab coat, a stethoscope, and latex gloves? If you think about it for a second, you know that the answer is probably not. Chances are that a doctor is going to come into court wearing business attire, either a suit, or maybe if they're not wearing a suit, they're going to be wearing a button-down shirt with a tie and khakis or slacks. Right? Doctors are going to dress professionally for court, because they're not going to be in the middle of a heart transplant and look at their watch and go, whoop, I've got to make it to court, and then run with their latex gloves and their stethoscope still on, right? So just think logically about your attire. But whether it's the attire, the way that you speak, or any other part of your performance as a witness, it needs to be the real thing, or at least look like the real thing. It's got to be authentic. Before we get into the third and final job that witnesses need to accomplish on direct examination, I want to talk to you about my new book, Mock Trial Masterclass, which is officially available on Amazon. Guys, this book is full of tips for mock trial witnesses. There are entire sections about what mock trial witnesses need to do on direct examination, where we dive into these 3 jobs and even more strategies and tips and information. There's a section on what witnesses need to do during cross-examination. There's sections on how you can develop your individual performance outside of practice. There's all sorts of information in this book, whether you're a witness or an attorney, that's going to help you succeed at the highest levels of mock trial. This book is a championship plan that I promise anyone can understand. So if you want to pick up a book of Mock Trial Masterclass and start diving deeper and further into these concepts and these strategies for excelling as a witness, you can click the link in the description on YouTube or in the show notes on podcast platforms. All right, third and final job for witnesses on direct examination is you need to know your part inside and out. Here's what that means. You shouldn't simply memorize a list of answers to scripted questions that you know your attorney is going to ask you. You should get to the point as a witness in your preparation where if your attorney suddenly developed amnesia on the way to a tournament and forgot everything they had scripted and just started asking you questions that they came up with in the moment, you should be able to answer those questions if the amnesia questions are actually about your witness character. Now, obviously, that's a silly example, but I'm serious about the implication of that, which is, as a witness, you should be so deeply inside your character, the part that you're playing, that you can roll with any punch that gets thrown at you, even one you don't expect. And that if your attorney was completely unscripted and just asked you questions about your character, you could give a great answer to them. Because here's the thing, if you haven't reached that level of preparation as a witness, it is going to show. You're gonna come across, first of all, as inauthentic, right? I think this really ties into the second job we talked about earlier, where if you don't have that basis and that knowledge base of your character, you're not gonna come across as the real thing. But beyond that, you're also going to come across as really stiff, really rehearsed, and really memorized. And if that's the impression that scorers get of you, stiff and rehearsed, your scores are going to go straight to the ground. So how do you remedy that? You remedy that by being extremely prepared, by knowing every word and every sentence of your witness statement or affidavit or deposition. No, it's not a memorization exercise. You don't need to be able to literally recite the thing, but you as a witness need to be so ingrained in your witness statement that you essentially become your part and you know it inside and out. One thing that I encourage my students to do is, certainly in the week leading up to a competition, but sometimes even before that, is to just every night before you go to bed, take a few minutes and read through that witness statement. The more you do that, the more you're going to learn the facts, the more they're going to cement themselves into your brain, and the more you're going to get to the point where you know your part inside and out, just like you need to. Being a witness isn't easy. I've only done it once, and it did not go very well. But if you can implement a proven plan, if you can implement strategies that work, it does get a whole lot easier, and I kind of wish I had had some of these strategies in that terrible round several years ago where I got to play a witness. So just accomplish these 3 jobs for witnesses on direct examination, and I promise your scores are going to go up, and so will your confidence.